Welcome back, everyone, to the We Are Undefeatable in Hertfordshire conference. If you have been with us already this morning, we've had some fantastic webinars, and welcome to the conference if you're just joining us now for Getting Active with Dementia. Just a little bit of housekeeping for those who aren't already aware. For best viewing experience, you can view the speaker view. View the speaker view, which is in the top right-hand corner of your Zoom screen. Don't worry if you're an attendee, we can't see you and we can't hear you. All attendees are muted and cameras are off. But please do make a racket in our chat box. So we've had lots of lovely networking throughout the day today. Ask any questions in the chat box. We'll get back to you. Hopefully there might be some time for questions in the webinar, and if not, we'll email you afterwards. But introduce yourselves for the benefit of people who are just joining the session, because especially which areas you're in, because I think that's a key theme that people want to know. Keep questions coming through, and you can find all the slides and the recordings for these sessions on www.sportinhearts.org.uk/LTHC, which stands for long-term health conditions, and they'll be uploaded next week. So I'm really pleased to introduce the Getting Active with Dementia webinar. We have Julie Churchhouse joining us, who is the Dementia Friendly Communities Coordinator for the Hertfordshire region at the Alzheimer's Society. After Julie has introduced herself and done her presentation, we've got Danny Buckley joining us, who is a Senior Lecturer in Life Sciences at the University of Hertfordshire. And then finally, we'll have Adam Thapar, who is Head of Community, Equality, Diversity and Inclusion and Dementia Services. That's quite a few things at Heartswise at Age UK Hertfordshire. So if it's all right with you, Julie, I'd like to hand over to you to introduce us about getting active with dementia.
Hey, can you see my screen now? Checking.
I can, yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, thank you. As explained, I work with the Alzheimer's Society as a dementia-friendly community coordinator, and I work with all of the different dementia-friendly communities across Hertfordshire to raise awareness and help support people living with dementia to remain an active part of their community. It's very important that once you get your diagnosis, you can still carry on doing all of the stuff that you've done previously. Your life shouldn't change overnight. So my slides don't want to change. Here we go. So a little outline of what I'm going to be talking about today. What is dementia? The benefits and challenges of physical activity for people living with dementia, and how we can help overcome some of those challenges to make it a bit easier for them. So first of all, what is dementia? Dementia is not a natural part of aging, as lots of people still believe. Although as we get older, the risk does increase. It goes from 1 to 14 over the age of 65 compared to 1 in 6 over the age of 80. As we get older, there's changes to the brain which can impact our memory or abilities, but age-related memory loss is not the same as dementia. At least 1 in 20 people with dementia developed the condition when they were aged under 65. And there's currently 42,000 younger people in the UK that have dementia, and even some in their 20s, although this is quite rare. So the 900,000 people currently living with dementia, that would be enough to fill Wembley Stadium 10 times over, to give you an idea of the numbers. And the amount of people, the 42,000 under the age of 65, would almost half fill that stadium as well. And there's lots more people living with dementia who don't have a diagnosis. So what is dementia? Dementia is caused when a disease damages the nerves in the brain. The nerve cells carry messages between different parts of the brain and to other parts of the body. As more nerve cells are damaged, the brain becomes less able to work properly. And dementia can be caused by many different types of disease. These diseases affect the brain in different ways, which will result in different types of dementia. So the most common form of dementia is Alzheimer's disease, and the other common forms that you're more likely to come across include vascular dementia, dementia with Lewy bodies, and frontal temporal dementia. But in all, there are over 100 different types of dementia. So if you imagine in your brain, you've got a set of fairy lights all twinkling away. Each light in your brain controls a different function of your body. So as dementia comes along, the lights will start to flicker and fade. And depending on the type of your dementia, the lights will be affected in a different order. Your general health and fitness will also affect the rates at which the lights are affected as well. With Alzheimer's disease, the first lights to be affected will be those that are associated with your memory and will cause you memory loss. As more lights are affected, the impact will become more apparent. It's not just about losing your memory. Each function that the brain controls will become affected. So your motor skills will become affected. Doing up your buttons and things will be quite hard to do. Your sequencing will also become affected. Remembering your PIN number in the correct order will become hard. Changes in inhibition, perhaps saying some socially inappropriate comments, or somebody that was quite outgoing could become withdrawn, or you could have the opposite. A withdrawn person could become a bit more outgoing. Your visual perception may be affected. So shiny floors could look like a wet surface and be a bit hard to walk across, and become harder to read the signs that are displayed as well. Your communication might take a bit longer to find the right word, might get there eventually with a bit of help, or you may use the wrong words. These are all the different functions that your brain controls that will become affected. Again, these changes will be different for everyone, depending on their type of dementia and the progression of their disease. We say at the Alzheimer's Society that when you've met one person with dementia, you've met one person with dementia. Everybody will be different. Unfortunately, we don't have the ability to replace the bulbs yet, but we can look at how we can help reduce the risks of developing dementia and how we can slow down the progression as well. So as with any other disease, a healthy lifestyle can help reduce the risk and progression. What's good for your heart is also good for your head. Regular physical exercise appears to be one of the most effective methods to reduce the risk of dementia among all of the lifestyle changes that have been studied. Several studies on the effect of aerobic exercise, so exercise that increases your heart rate in middle-aged or older adults, have found improvements in thinking and memory, as well as a reduction in dementia rates. Increasing your physical activity not only has the effect of preventing dementia, it also has the effect of improving dementia with the help of other psycho-emotional aspects, such as reducing depression and behavioural and psychological symptoms of dementia. Physical activity can also help improve your emotional well-being by providing social connections with other people in the organisation or activity that you're taking part in. The University of Hertfordshire have carried out a project on the contribution of physical activity to social connectivity and well-being in adults living with dementia. They looked at how dementia-friendly communities can enable people affected by dementia to be able to participate in physical activity. The benefits they found included supporting people living with dementia, their family members and carers to live well and independently. There's an improvement in mood, sleep and mental stimulation. It's a modifiable risk factor for dementia. And there's benefits to the carers in the form of having respite and peer support, and obviously helping reduce the feeling of isolation and loneliness. So these are some of the things that people have told us that they experience when taking part in activities, and the things that make it harder for them to joining those activities. And these are feelings that any of us can experience when trying something new or something that might cause us embarrassment. But if you think back to your fairy lights and the functions that they control, these added difficulties would become more hard to do as well. So the problems with your memory, you might forget the rules of the game that you're taking part in, or where your position is. Your motor skills might make it harder to hit the ball with a bat. Visual perception may be harder to see that the person who's leading that group, what they're doing, if you need to follow their actions. And your communications, if you have any of these problems, it's going to be harder for you to express your concerns and ask for help. Sometimes it could be not knowing the events that are happening in the first place, or having the appropriate transport to get there, or somebody to go with you. So these are all of the some of the barriers that people face. So how can we help overcome these barriers? Sport United Against Dementia is an Alzheimer's Society campaign which is raising funds and awareness to tackle dementia. We're working together with representatives from the Premier League, England and Wales Cricket Board and Premiership Rugby. As well as raising money and awareness, the aim is to make the big sporting venues dementia friendly, to enable people living with dementia to still be able to follow their teams and go to games and be supported to do that when they get there. Details of how we are doing this is in the Dementia Friendly Sports Clubs and Venue Guides, and I will have some links to this at the end. There's also tips and advice on how every sporting venue can become more dementia friendly. The Dementia Friendly Sport and Physical Activity Guide has this information as well, and it's aimed at leisure centres, gyms and sports clubs. However, it can be used by anybody looking to deliver physical activities such as sports coaches, personal trainers, health professionals or community groups. It outlines the adaptations and changes that can make activities a bit more dementia friendly. The ideas in this guide are relevant for activities that are delivered in a variety of settings, including community halls, care homes and other non-traditional physical activity venues. So some of the recommendations in these guides to help you become dementia friendly, it's a simple process of people, process and place. So under your people heading, have a look at your staff, have dementia awareness sessions for them, for volunteers as well, anybody that's taking part in your groups, especially if they have a customer focused role as well. If need be, perhaps more formal dementia training would be suitable for them. Join your local dementia friendly community group. You can get help and support on how to do this as well. Under process, support your employees who either have a diagnosis of dementia or may be caring for a family member. Make it possible for employees that have a diagnosis to continue working, where you can make changes and adaptations to help them stay employed for as long as possible. And signposting to organisations that can help and support people. And look at your place. Ensure that the activities that you are currently offering are inclusive to people living with dementia, not just those particularly focused for people living with dementia. Carry out a physical environment audit with somebody living with dementia. Have a look at your signage. Is it obvious where to go when you enter the building? Is there somebody there that can help you and address any concerns that you might have? They're quite simple changes, and if you get it right for the people living with dementia, you're going to get it right for a lot of other people that are using your facility as well. So finally, people living with dementia should be supported to live well in their community and continue to do the everyday things that many people take for granted. This includes going to their local leisure centre or being part of their community sports club. Carers also need to receive support and understanding so that they can continue to do the activities that they've already done while accompanying the person with dementia as their condition progresses. Everyone's needs will be different. So again, if you've met one person with dementia, you've met one person with dementia. And here are the links to the University of Hertfordshire and the dementia friendly guides, which I think may be put up in the chat box as well. Thank you, Charlotte.
Thank you so much, Julie. It's really helpful sort of overview and insight into your role and how we can help people living with dementia to have the benefits. And I personally found that that resource about how to be a dementia-friendly sport and physical activity provider really helpful, because it has actionable suggestions, and personally I find that helpful. So I'll pop the link to that in the chat.
Thank
and we'll
you.
pop some other links later on. Just in case anyone is interested in terms of dementia-friendly communities, I know there's quite a few projects in Hertfordshire at the moment going on. So feel free to pop a message in the chat or email myself or Julie, and we'll be able to put you in touch with any local dementia-friendly community projects that are going on. And we're going to be really pleased, we'll be running some dementia friends sessions. So if everyone's interested in this webinar, then do sign up to the Live Longer Better newsletter, where I'll be sending We Are Undefeatable updates as well. So I'm really happy that we'll be able to speak a bit more about the University of Hertfordshire research as well. For those of you that don't know, Heart Sports Partnership is actually hosted at the University of Hertfordshire. So we're grateful to have Danny Buckley on the call today, who's been doing some fantastic dementia projects linked with physical activity. And if it's all right with you, Danny, I'll hand over to yourself.
Absolutely. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Super. Okay, I'll just share my screen. Can you see that okay?
Yeah, that's great.
Excellent, thank you. I'm just going to go into presenter mode.
Perfect.
Okay, well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining me for my part of this presentation. My name is Danny Buckley, and I'll be speaking to you all today about Golden Memories, what Golden Memories is, and my involvement in that as a PhD student and researcher from the University of Hertfordshire. Just a little bit of background about myself. I'm a senior lecturer at the University of Hertfordshire. I co-lead an academic support unit, and I'm the current programme leader for this Chartered Manager degree apprenticeship in sports business management. But more specifically, I guess, for this presentation, I'm in the very final phase of my PhD. I've actually submitted ready for a mock viva. And the reason why that's relevant is it was completely based on Golden Memories, and quite a lot of my data and contributions will be presented to you all to give you an insight into what was found during this presentation. Julie did a fantastic job a moment ago sharing a lot of lovely statistics and insightful statistics about dementia and Alzheimer's. So I'm not going to run through them all again. We all understand what impact dementia and Alzheimer's is having in the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom and Japan, as we're aware, are aging populations, and based on that, there's new statistics and data that suggests 1 in 3 of us born into the modern world today will develop dementia by the time we leave it again at the end of our lives. As Julie said, there's nearly 950,000 people currently living in the United Kingdom with dementia, and based on all of our research and knowledge in that area, more does need to be done to support people living through that disease, but also people's caring for those people and therefore that are affected by dementia. So I'm going to speak today about Golden Memories, which is a reminiscence therapy program. For those of you that aren't aware what reminiscence therapy is the process of recalling memories from the past, sharing stories from the past, which could either be provoked or even unprovoked, using different pieces of memorabilia, such as handled memorabilia, such as trophies, which I'll cover in a moment, but even using different senses such as taste, smell, and audio. Golden Memories was a program which was created in partnership with myself and the University of Hertfordshire in collaboration with Watford Football Club, who was a Premier League team at the time, but we won't hone in on that at the moment, and also the Watford Heritage Museum. And we created Golden Memories essentially to contribute to the Mayor of Watford's plan to create a dementia-friendly community in Watford. And the plan was to invite people living with dementia to come to the football stadium on a weekly basis, those people that were interested in Watford Football Club, to then share memories of the club, reminisce over the past. The programme was funded by the Premier League Funding Association, and it funded a delivery of this programme for a 3-year period. The very first 12-week programme was delivered in September 2019, and it ran every single Wednesday, 2 till 4 p.m, and it was hosted at the Vicarage Road Football Stadium. The reminiscence therapy was based around the theme of Watford Football Club, and it was designed to be personalised and specific in that way, because we knew that the people that would be attending, and therefore that would be engaging in the reminiscence therapy, would have an interest and a passion and a connection to the football club. And the participants all had mild to moderate dementia. And we also invited the carers and relatives and family members to come to the stadium as well during that programme to engage in a respite session, which was separate to the reminiscence therapy. Some key aspects of Golden Memories. It was hosted at the Vicarage Road Football Stadium, as I've said, which was a real key aspect of the programme. I'll come on to some outcomes of the research later, but it's one of the big contributions of the new knowledge that we've created, is that hosting it in a facility such as that, such as Vicarage Road, really did have an impact on the trigger and the environment that the people were accessing these memories in. As you can see, we were really supported by the football club, and the reminiscence therapy programme was hosted in the sensory room, which overlooked the pitch, which instantly had an impact and a connection with those who were involved in the programme. The reminiscence sessions focused on engaging all the senses. Typically, the Watford Heritage Museum would lead the sessions, and they would bring in trophies that Watford have won over the years, different collections of shirts that the players would have worn, different programmes and other pieces of handled memorabilia. We also did sessions with guest speakers. We did sessions that focused on audios, playing music, playing songs, but also playing footage of certain players scoring certain goals. And we also tested the taste, the elements of taste and smell during some of the sessions. And we fed pies and gave Bovril to those participating in the programme to try to engage more senses during the process of reminiscing over the past. We were very blessed to have lots of excellent guest speakers. There was a different guest speaker on every single week of the programme. This typically associated to ex-players like Luther Blissett, for example, came one week and did a talk. We also had the previous club shop owner who was very ingrained in the Watford Football Club system back then. We also had the guy that ran Hornet Radio. He came in and done a session. We had Rita Taylor, who's the late wife of Graham Taylor. She came and shared some scrapbooks that she's created from Graham Taylor's time at the football club. And we even had some more bespoke sessions. This person who has claimed to be the biggest collector of Watford Football Club shirts came one week with his collection, and we designed a session around each of those shirts and shared memories of the players that used to wear them. As I said, it was hosted by Watford Football Club, and it was delivered by Watford Football Club. So the money that we got from the Premier League funded a full-time project officer to deliver this programme, and we also had a team of volunteers that helped deliver the programme as well. In terms of my involvement then, I was the researcher. I was written into the Premier League funding bid as the person that would evaluate the programme and provide outcomes of the findings and what sort of impact it had. I did a collective case study on the Golden Memories programme, and the idea was that I would come in and collect data from everyone that was involved. So the very first delivery was from September 2019 till December 2019, and I collected data using focus groups on the first, second and final session of the programme. I did a semi-structured interview with every single person that attended the programme, either as a carer, a relative, a volunteer or a participant. And I also collected observational data on every single session. The idea was then that in 2020, in March, when we done the second version of the program, I would then collect data again. But as we've covered already during this seminar series today, COVID-19 had a real impact, certainly on programs like this. Unfortunately, it did get cancelled at that time. So we did a second phase of data collection, which involved follow-up interviews to understand what the impact of COVID-19 was for the carers, the relatives, the facilitators, the volunteers, and the participants. To provide some insights into the study included 43 people in total, and that was broken down as 14 people living with dementia who were participants on the programme. We had 4 paid carers, 9 family carers, 6 facilitators, and 10 volunteers. My semi-structured interviews were split into 14 in phase 1 and 16 in phase 2. I did 6 focus groups in total on the programme, and I ended up only doing 11 observations because on one of the weeks, Donald Trump decided to visit Watford and decided to drive through Watford, and therefore the whole of Hertfordshire seemed to come to a standstill. And unfortunately, based on that, we did have to cancel the session because we couldn't get the participants to the stadium. I did a thematic analysis using NVivo where I put all the data in to understand what were the key themes. We got 3 key themes from that data analysis. There were some ethical problems that we did have. There's a lot of research and data to show that people living with dementia perhaps shouldn't be able to consent to take part in research by themselves. However, using the Mental Capacity app, we were given the ability to assess whether someone could provide their own consent, and based on the Mental Capacity Act, it was deemed that everyone in attendance was able to provide consent and take part in the programme. In terms of programme and research enrolment, that was done by Watford Football Club. They used Heartwise to access people in the local area. They attended dementia groups like dementia cafes and Singing for the Brain. There was local advertisement in bus stops and local newspapers, and even Watford Football Club supported this by putting a spread in the match day programme for supporters currently going to the stadium to look at and maybe recommend older family members to take part. So in terms of the outcomes and the data that we got from this, and I will share some quotes on the next 3 sets of slides. The 3 main themes that we got was first connecting with history and reconnecting with history, which linked to the memorabilia, the props, and the storytelling that took part in the programme. The second theme was the biggest theme for me and the biggest impact, which was friendships, which also linked to social interaction. And the third one was freedom, which linked to the experiences of the carers, the family members, and the volunteers. So there will be a lot of information on these slides. Please feel free to read through if you'd like to. But essentially, the first theme that came out was reminiscing and storytelling, and that the theme and focus of Watford Football Club and the engagement in reminiscence therapy allowed people to have what I would call a conversational initiator. It allowed someone that doesn't initially want to socialise with people or have the ability to socialise with people. It gave them something to talk about, and it gave them a connection with the people that they were sharing a cup of coffee with at the time. As you can see, by reminiscing over the past, these people were able to remember what they were doing when they were watching Watford Football Club. You can see in the top quote and the bottom quote, for example, the storytelling led on to people sharing experiences of selling the 50-50 tickets. And Andre's carer was sharing in her interview with me that Andre can't even remember what he had for breakfast on the day that he came to the programme, but he can vividly remember selling 50-50 tickets outside of the old stadium before the matches. The props and interaction, what was really interesting about that was actually the props were very, very interesting and very engaging, but the biggest prop that people always refer to was the stadium and the atmosphere that gave them and the trigger that gave them when they arrived to the sessions. And the connection with Watford Football Club was obviously the personal aspect of that programme. And again, here Troy talks about when he used to come and watch Watford, even when it was blue and white. I believe that was in the 1970s. It may even have been a little bit before then. But again, he was able to vividly point out exactly where he used to stand when he used to come and watch Watford Football Club. And again, this is a guy, Troy, who struggles to communicate with people on a daily basis. He's typically isolated from society in a care home. But when he come to Watford Football Club, he was able to recall those vivid memories and share them with other people on the programme. That then led really nicely into friendship and social interaction. And as Julie spoke about a lot in her presentation, these people are isolated people. They're very vulnerable people. And we know that people that are living in care homes spend up to 70% of their time entirely alone. So therefore, for me, the biggest outcome of Golden Memories and reminiscence therapy was it gave these people an opportunity to meet other people and come and socialize and interact with others on a weekly basis. We know that forming relationships and making new friends are things that people living with dementia say that they would like to do more often, and therefore reminiscence therapy gave them the opportunity to do that. As you can see in the Making New Friends section at the bottom, both Katie and Andre recognise that meeting new people is very important, and it's something they should be doing. And therefore we were able to offer that opportunity to them. As I said, the reminiscence therapy for me was the conversation initiator, and it was an opportunity for them to take their knowledge and passion of the football club and share stories with other people in attendance. Something that was quite unique about Golden Memories, but was recommended from my review of the literature when we first started out and started planning the programme, was that the carers and relatives should also be given an opportunity to engage in the programme if they want to, but we should, if we can, provide them with a space separate to the main programme to gain some respite, and that's exactly what we did. All of the people that we interviewed in a caring or relative capacity acknowledged that opportunity and acknowledged it as something that they enjoyed. Interestingly, my observational data pinpointed that some of the carers felt guilty and felt like they shouldn't be leaving the people they're attending with. But when they did use that opportunity to go upstairs and seek respite as an alternative opportunity, they did appreciate that. What I found quite interesting was the people that were attending the programme in a family capacity. So as we can see here, Jennifer, who was the wife of Tom, actually didn't engage in the respite opportunity, didn't engage in the session, and actually preferred to leave the session completely for those 2 hours and engage in something else, such as meeting a friend for coffee, doing the shopping, having a private phone call where they knew that the person they were attending with was stimulated and safe for a 2-hour period, and they could essentially switch off and do something different. And finally, the volunteers had also stated that this programme was an opportunity for them to gain some respite, simply because they were volunteers because they also had a passion for Watford Football Club. Quite a few of them were also retired people, and it gave them something to look forward to each week and something to have in their diaries. The key contributions then that we've had from this is obviously there's new knowledge on the reminiscence therapy outcomes, there's new knowledge on the reminiscence therapy personalisation, and there's new knowledge on the delivery techniques that we use, such as using Pies and Bovril in association with handled memorabilia to engage in those reminiscent storytelling moments. But on top of that, there's this thesis and this study has also really discovered that for the volunteers and carers, there's a lot of respite opportunities for them, and these programs can really benefit them too. And as an example, in the COVID-19 follow-up phone calls, I spoke to the daughter of one of the participants who lives in Leeds. She never attended the program, but knowing that her dad had somewhere to go for 2 hours per week, that gave her an opportunity to switch off and relax in the knowledge that her dad was safe and doing something he enjoyed. In addition to that, this is the first thesis that I'm also aware of that collected data pre and post COVID-19 on reminiscence therapy. So that is also an area of contribution. And that did show that once the session ended, obviously rather suddenly, it gave quite a lot of confusion to people living with dementia, and therefore has provided more contributions and more recommendations for a continuation if this is to happen again in the future. In terms of next steps, there are football clubs in the local area that are already trying to engage in this and take part in doing their very own version of Golden Memories. So I've also already been in conversations with Stevenage and Arsenal Foundation to, in a consultational sense, to support them with designing their very own version of reminiscence therapy. Findings from this has already been published in a book chapter in the Oxford Handbook of Sport and Society. Clinical organisations such as Anthropos are using this knowledge to support the development of their products, and there's also been a link recently between the University of Hertfordshire and a university in Japan, Tokyo, where they would like to use reminiscence therapy in baseball as their national sport. That is a real whistle-stop tour of reminiscence therapy, Golden Memories, and my PhD. I understand there's probably some questions or some things that I didn't quite cover. If you'd like to get in touch, discuss anything that I've said today, or ask for any more information, please do get in touch. And my email is on this last slide. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny. I think it's fantastic to change the perspective as well from what we've been looking at all day, is the direct impact of physical activity on a long-term health condition being the physical benefit, but we've not necessarily thought about the emotional stimulation, cognitive benefit yet. So this is the perfect example of it. So thank you for sharing. We have had a question from Rick. It's up to you, Danny, how much you answer this or not. Rick has said, as a sports lover, this is fantastic, Danny. Has your great work inspired other football clubs and sports clubs across different sports to do the same? I'll leave it to you how much you share.
Yes, it has. We actually worked closely with Everton Football Club. Their sport in the community foundation is really good up there, and they had designed something fairly similar, but not as personalised as what we did with Watford Football Club. And since these sort of results have been published, and since the outcomes of Golden Memories, as I said previously, the Arsenal Foundation have expressed an interest in doing something similar, and I'm currently working with Stevenage Football Club and their foundation to run something very similar in Stevenage as well. The final thesis, the final findings isn't quite out there yet. I'm awaiting my viva at the moment, but hopefully once I get that tick in that box, it will open up some more opportunities.
Definitely. I'm really excited because this is an area of, there's lots of opportunity and things are in the pipeline, aren't they? So keep us up to date, Danny, and we'll always make sure to share with everyone on the call and the network. So it's a great area. And Dave has made a good suggestion. I think we've had a discussion about museums before, but the point that lots of national governing bodies of different sport areas have museums for their sports, so they might be good resource for some of the things that we require, the physical objects that we require for future programs and things. So
absolutely, yeah, thought, we spoke a lot with like the local libraries, and I don't know how familiar everyone is, but libraries have started doing sort of time capsules, so people living with dementia can access them, and you get a capsule and it's got some paperwork and stuff in it from particular eras. So that's sort of the groundworks of this idea. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Watford was very unique, where the Heritage Museum was the club's museum and had everything in there, and I'm sure there's many other clubs that have a museum like that. So yeah, it would make things far easier.
That memory time capsule thing with the libraries is really interesting. I hadn't heard of that. So if you get a moment after the webinar, Danny, would you send me a link or something, or what contact to do with that?
Sure, I'll find a contact and I'll let you know.
That'd be great, because I'm sure people in the call would love to know about that. So thank you, Danny. I'm really pleased now. I'm going to be able to hand over to Adam, who is Director of Dementia Services at Hertfordshire. So thank you, Adam, for joining us.
Thanks, Charlotte. I don't know if you can hear me okay. It's just sort of paused slightly.
Sorry, I think it's my internet. I just had something come up and say it's unstable, but
Oh, no problem
I
at all.
think you're fine. It's me. I'm the
Okay,
problem.
brilliant. All right. Well, thanks, Charlotte. And thank you, Heart Sports Partnership, for having me. My name is Adam Thapper, and I oversee dementia services and community services as part of HK Hertfordshire and Heartswise. And I've been invited along today to talk to you a little bit about Heartswise and the work that we complete across Hertfordshire. So just to give you a quick introduction, Heartswise is a county-wide service designed to support people living with dementia, mild cognitive impairments and low-level memory loss, as well as their loved ones and carers. Importantly, with the service, we support people with or without a diagnosis of dementia. So the idea is that people come through to us even before, seeing their GP, or if they're worried about their memory, so that we can signpost and refer people to the appropriate services to help them. The service is designed to support people of all ages living anywhere within Hertfordshire to easily access information and advice, some activities and support, regardless if they have or want a diagnosis. The program itself is delivered by a partnership of organisations of community and voluntary groups, such as HK Hertfordshire, Hearts Independent Living Service, Hearts My Network and Carers in Hearts, just to name a few.
Adam, sorry to interrupt you.
Yes.
I know you prepared some slides. I didn't know if you wanted to share those.
I do, yes. I've got a video for you. Yeah.
So no, don't worry. I'm jumping ahead of myself.
No, not a problem at all. So I'm just going to share the sound, optimize it. Can everyone see my blank screen?
Yes, I can see your screen. Sorry for interrupting you.
No, not a problem at all, Charlotte. I've got this and then I've got a presentation.
Lovely.
Just to give you a flavour, so this is what we do within Heartswise. This was a video that was created by University of Hertfordshire students, first year film and journalism students that came to our groups to record some of our clients, our carers and our volunteers. So yes, please enjoy, give you a flavour of what we do within our community groups. Everyone hear that okay?
No, I'm afraid I can't hear it at the moment, Adam.
Yeah, no, I've got it. It's fine.
Oh, you've got it.
A lot of...
Can everyone hear that, just to confirm, sorry?
I could hear it fine, Adam. I think crack
on. Okay, I'll press play.
A lot of people, when you get in these groups, seem to feel as though they've known someone before they even meet the people. It's such a friendly atmosphere.
When you get to know them, you realise you're not on your own.
If someone's new, we do go and have a chat with them at least, so if they don't feel isolated.
Nearly every single person I met that's come along has been surprised by how much they've really fallen in love with the group, with the people. It's like we have our own little family, and there's always someone there you can talk to and get support from.
Carers are supporting other carers, clients build new friendships, whereas their previous friendships may have broken down because being diagnosed with dementia may create a distance with some friendships.
There's still a massive stigma attached to that word. People are really afraid about discussing it.
I like to greet people when they come, new people, and introduce them round. And if at the end of our meetings, you see everyone going out smiling, I say, I've done my job. It's not my job. I mean, I do have dementia. Personally, I will help any way I can to keep it going while I'm still capable of doing it. If you can come out, you can enjoy yourself, you can have a laugh. Whatever state you're in, you can really enjoy it, whether it's sitting down in your chairs, dancing, exercise, or cricket.
We've done quizzes, we've done reminiscence work, we do a lot of chair-based exercise.
Armpit fudge, karate, dancing.
We'll bring in dogs, yoga teachers, we'll bring in speakers around trading standards and scams.
The things we do are quite good, actually.
puzzles and games we played, which I think a few of us have actually gone and brought. We've got them ourselves at home.
It's very difficult to keep someone occupied. Doing things like this is stimulation, and that's what's so important.
It's nice coming to groups like this because you meet other people in the same situation that I'm in. I find out more from coming to these groups than any professionals bother to tell you. If you want to find out where you can get services, you have to find out all those things yourself. But when you come to these sort of groups, there's other people that have already been up that road.
My actual role here as a volunteer is mainly to make sure they leave with a smile on their face. The real person's still in there. If you can make them happy with a smile and a little joke, away we go. The unfortunate part is I lost my wife a couple of years back, but in that meantime I go out 3 times a week volunteering. I think that what I do may not seem a lot, but what else would you do? The real person's still in there. It's just accepting the fact that that's who they are now.
All right, people do pass on, and it's a shame. But this is something to keep you going and enjoying it. And I can't think of anything else to say.
So that was just a quick video. I could see some of the comments that not everyone could hear it, so I apologise about that. But I will share the slides with Will. I believe Will has the slides already, so I'm happy for them to be shared. But within that video, what you saw was people living with dementia and their carers having some fun. You know, we were dancing, we were playing some cricket and getting some physical activity as part of our community groups to, you know, well, as you saw in Julie's presentation about the best parts of what physical activity can do for physical and mental well-being. So we tried to bring an aspect of that to all of the groups that we run, and we've actually worked alongside Heart Sports Partnership to deliver them across HUK Hertfordshire and our wider luncheon and 10 to 3 clubs. We've done some cricket, like you saw. We've done some seated dance, seated exercise, walking football, because the brilliance of physical activity is so good for people living with dementia, for you know, muscle strength, for memory recall. It's getting the blood surging around, so it's just fantastic. And thank you. Yes, it sort of brings it to life better than I can in a presentation. But if I just give you now a bit of an overview of what we do, I will zip through this just to not keep you all before the lunch break. But this is the parts of the Heartside service that we deliver. So we've got sort of myself overseeing it, but then we have locality workers, onset dementia workers. We deliver some benefits advice and lasting power of attorney. We support carers with 2 carer development officers. We have a diversity champion, and also we have, you know, the lifeblood of the service really is the incredible volunteers that support us in delivering the work that we do in the community. So the locality workers, we have 10 across Hertfordshire, but they each manage a different district within Hertfordshire. And their role is to run those weekly groups that you saw within that video, where we do some chair-based exercises, singing, games, quizzes. We have speakers from, you know, different areas, different organisations to tell people about, you know, services that are available to them. And of course, the only way that we can get people there is via tea, coffee, and cakes. So not best for the physical well-being, but we you know, we try our best. But yes, we promote physical and mental well-being throughout the sessions, as you saw. And through the pandemic, you know, we try to keep people active by sending out crosswords and puzzles and letters from school children, just to enable to be, you know, the person living with dementia to be stimulated at home. And we do charge for those groups. So it's £5 per person, but the carer does go for free. So, and invariably the carers do stay They get a lot, there's a lot to be taken from group support, and which is again very similar to the Golden Memories that Danny spoke to you about. It's fantastic addition to community support that we have here in Hertfordshire. We also do one-to-one locality workers, so we can support people in face-to-face by going to their homes. The idea is that we help improve their confidence so they feel more comfortable in attending our community groups. So they get to meet our locality worker, they get to see, what kind of individual and service that we are. And our transition rate is about 60-70% of individuals, sort of leaving their homes, if they can, if mobility is on their side, to join us at a community group. And really, it's just tailored around that individual, sort of doing reminiscence activities with them, looking at, photos of weddings and past sports, and just fantastic stuff happens via one-to-ones. And then we also have young onset dementia workers, and we have 2 covering the whole county. Young onset dementia affects those under the age of 65, or it's classed as those under the age of 65. Where again they do very similar activities to the locality workers in sort of chair-based exercises, singing, games, quizzes, but the needs of people with young onset dementia are different. So often they are still working, they still have their jobs, they still drive, have children, have older sort of parents and grandparents to look after, so they're sandwiched in between sometimes, and so it gets quite difficult for them, and so they need their own dedicated resource via the 2 sort of young onset dementia workers, and again their benefits are very different too. Which brings me on to our benefits and lasting power of attorney. So this is provided by our information and advice team at Age UK Hertfordshire, and we can do the usual benefits such as attendance allowance, PIP payments, pension credit, ESA, and all of the benefits forms and the attendance of the individual is free. So, I would encourage people to access our information and advice service, as going through some of these blue badge forms and attendance allowance forms is a mission. So we just try to make it easier for the individual and try to understand their needs so that we can fairly represent them through the forms. We do also complete lasting power of attorney, which is of course incredibly important for people who are just sort of entering memory shoes, to just ensure that we can uphold their choices as they sort of go through on their dementia journey. And we do charge for that aspect of lasting power of attorney, not nearly as much as solicitors or sort of professional bodies like that, but we can really help. We also have carer development officers. So we work with carers in Hertfordshire and Hearts My Network to help, apologies, I've got the comments up now, I close them, to help focus on carers' needs, provide them with safe spaces to share experiences and knowledge. So often we have a range of carers groups across the county, some online, some face-to-face, and it's just their safe space to laugh, to scream, to shout, to cry, to share. And actually, as you heard in the video via one of our carers, Terry, it's that, it's the shared knowledge across carers is sometimes more than what us professionals can provide. It's gold dust. So we do encourage carers to speak with one another, because they're actually the ones with lived experience that can share fantastic nuggets of information. We also do run a lot of training for carers, and it's provided in partnership with Hertfordshire Partnership Foundation Trust, Hertfordshire Community Trust, Carers in Hertfordshire, Admiral Nurses, Herts County Council, Age UK Hertfordshire, Hearts My Network. Apologies for all the acronyms. I'm happy to sort of eke them out. But yes, some fantastic carer work happens because, carers are amazing, and we do need to support the carers to continue their amazing caring role. We also have a diversity champion for the project. So we've recognised within our service that we aren't particularly great at accessing harder to reach, or diverse communities or LGBTQ+ communities. And so we have a dedicated resource for our diversity champion to try and focus some support via groups and one-to-ones for diverse communities. We currently have one diverse community that runs in Hitchin, and we're looking to set up more across the county. Of course, we do have the one individual, it's one of our new innovations, but there's some fantastic work that we're trying to do to overcome some barriers, you know, for diverse communities. And this triangle just gives you an idea of where Heartswise sits within the wider community dementia support for Hertfordshire. So we're at the bottom, Heartswise, so community support and activities that help people live independently. So that's via all the partnership organisations. And we work closely with the Alzheimer's Society and Julie's team for individuals going through their dementia journey who just need a bit of support for that individual living with dementia. And then we also work really closely with the Admiral nurses via Carers in Hearts and Dementia UK, who support just the carer in their caring role. And the idea is that we all work together and we all share a database, kind of tell your story once idea, to avoid emergency support being needed. So we're on the preventative side. And this is just more a complicated version of that, but it's just to show you how, you know, where we get all of our referrals from and how we manage them across the community dementia contract in Hertfordshire. And I think I've rushed through that to try and get everyone off, but I hope that was helpful. Does anyone have any questions at all?
Thank you, Adam. There is a question in the chat which might be helpful with that referral side that you had. Yes. Rick has asked, he's referred people into Heartswise previously, and he's asked, is it best to go straight to the or just to go to Heartswise and let Heartswise sort itself out, or is it best to go to the locality workers within Heartswise directly?
So the best referral route is via Hearts Help on the 0300 123 4044 number. I have a dedicated resources there at the control centre who work on behalf of Heartswise to take all of the information from individuals and to ask wider questions for different referrals into different services. They place all the information onto the database for us and send us the referral. And it's kind of that tell your story once idea. You know, we understand the individual, we understand their needs, and then can just support them. So please do refer via Hearts Help. We try and make it as seamless as we can.
Yeah, they're a great single point of access service.
Yes, absolutely.
I really like seeing the seated cricket in that video that you shared. It was a great video.
Thank you.
For some people who might not be aware who are attending the webinar, the seated cricket, the para dance, those sorts of things, we were actually at Live Longer Better, we were able to support Heartswise and Age UK Hertfordshire to have those services within their sessions through that. And my thing's come up to say my internet is unstable again, so sorry if I sound like a robot.
That's fine.
But if anyone is interested in getting services or provision of physical activity within their service, we found there's so much value for physical activity to come to the trusted organisations. So please, drop me an email or a message if that's something that you're interested in. We'll be more than happy to help. I wanted to give a couple of...
I was just saying we loved it. We loved the ability to run those sessions. So thank you, honestly, to Heart Sports Partnership for helping raise some funds for us to do it. It's fantastic. And you can see how people just absolutely loved it. So I'd encourage anyone to apply.
I did. Yeah. And seeing the videos, I think a picture paints 1,000 words, doesn't it? Yes. I wanted to give a couple of top tips to any instructors on the session about when you're working with people who are living with dementia and things to consider to make your session as effective as possible. So Julie mentioned right back at the beginning, there's sometimes challenges with sequencing can be experienced when people are living with dementia. So what we need to be mindful of, if someone's having a problem with sequencing, we need to be very clear at breaking down the different activities. Lots of clear visual demonstration as well. That's my first top tip. My second top tip is we need to consider the environment and make sure that distractions are called dual tasking, which is doing two things at the same time. So you may have experienced perhaps you're doing an exercise session and it brings up a conversation. But if someone starts talking or conversing, and perhaps they stop doing the movement, and it's that dual tasking that can be difficult. So the focus here would to be try and minimize distractions whilst recognizing reminiscence and stimulation and music playing, for example, can be motivating too. So it is a balancing act, definitely. They were my two main top tips in terms of supporting people living with dementia and leading an exercise session. So thank you so much to all our speakers in this session, to Adam, to Julie, and to Danny. We'll share all their slides and recording of the session next week. And any questions we didn't get to in the chat, we'll make sure we get back to you via email and share those with everyone. So we're going to head off to lunch, and I really want to recommend everyone coming to the 2 o'clock Parkinson's exercise taster. You'll be meeting someone called John, who is instructing someone called Bob, and Bob is living with Parkinson's. And I think when Peter shared a story earlier on today, and it was the guy who wanted to do boxing for Parkinson's. It's going to be a similar taster session, because there's a lot of information about, or a lot of benefit rather, in high impact physical activity with Parkinson's disease, which was a surprise to me. So I'm really looking forward to the taster session at 2 o'clock, and I hope to see all of you there. Have a fantastic lunch, and I'll see you a bit later.